Hey guys, so I am here with Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer, and I'm gonna look into the here. Okay, just finished the IG chat live, which was great, and had a lot of fun with that. A lot of great comments. This was a fantastic read. One of the things that we're this is the wrap up. We're gonna go into spoilers and everything like that, but one of the things that I really wanted to discuss was, oh wait, I lost my train of thought that quick, because I'm like, one of the things about Ta-Nehisi Coates' works is that it's about the book, but because he has so much knowledge in so many things when it comes to America, especially race relations, or or history with racism, and just like history in general, just the history of America, it's baked into the story so much. That it actually lends itself to discussion on other things as well, like what's going on now, for instance. You see the parallels so clearly, and so the conversation. I don't even want to say goes on a tangent. I would rather say that it actually just opens up. And one of the things that there's so many book clubs. With AMERIE'S book club, it's not just about discussing what happens in the story and the plot and all of those things, but it's kind of like, what does this mean in the bigger picture? What does this mean? What is this saying about life? What is this saying about us and who we are? And how might we learn something new? And what are we seeing and how it relates to what's going on politically right now, what's going on culturally? And I think that's something that it's just important to me that we discuss those things and not just keep it about the book, because that's what interests me when I'm reading a book, how it relates to all of those things and not just the plot. Because I read to be entertained, but I also read to have like revelations. And it's wonderful when you have an author who can create a great work, but also allows you to see the thing that you've always seen in a different way and to see things from a new light. And I also think that is great when we have discussions, because we can actually share our perspectives and kind of see something yet in a new light again, because someone says something really cool in the comments or something that makes us stop and think a little, because it's not just about what I think. It's kind of like the whole experience of us chatting. And that's why I think it's really a lot of fun in the IG chat, because we're all talking real time and we can actually have that conversation together instead of just like me saying my thoughts and then me reading in the comments, which is great, but it's like later on or whatever. It's like the comments are driving the conversation. And I think that's great, because it's like this huge book club. Like there were literally hundreds of us at a time. And I just saw that there were almost 2,000 people watching the story. And I guess some of those were dipping in and out. So yeah, there were 2,000, like that's huge. That's a big book club conversation, right? And one of the things that was really cool, but it didn't end up working out, was that Ta-Nehisi was actually trying to get onto the chat, but he was going through technical difficulties. We already knew he was already like in an area where he didn't have great reception. And then I went through technical difficulties too. So then I was like trying to like get him on there. And then soon I couldn't even get anyone on. It's like the whole thing wasn't clicking on. Anywho, so that would have been so cool, because I did have questions that I really wanted to ask him, and I know you did too. But he was trying, and he was watching us, chat and everything, but he couldn't get on there. But thank you, big shout out to Ta-Nehisi Coates for writing this amazing book, for trying to join the chat. But it was really fantastic. We talked a lot about. I'm not going to say too much here, because this is really our conversation is really there. On IG chat live at the end of the month, every month for these books. But I'm just going to just sum up some of what we discussed. We discussed a lot of the themes regarding separation in this book, separation of people from their history, separation of people physically from the continent of Africa, from their family members, specifically children, which is to me like the most heart-wrenching of all, and how hard it was to go through life when you never know when you and your family will be separated. Also, another theme was story. And I actually didn't even really get to go into that, because we were just talking about so many other things. But story is a big thing too, because in order for the magic to work, you have to have story. Story is what drives the magic. And the reason why Hiram's magic is blocked a lot is because although he can remember everything, he can't remember the story of his mother and the story of what happened to her. And so a big chunk of his own story is missing, which is why it's hard for him to access his magic until later, much later in the book. Also, talked a lot about the lacking. I've said before on this channel how I don't like to use the word slave narrative, and I prefer enslaved, because just saying slave, 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 we hear it so much. One, I think we're desensitized to that. And two, I think it takes out the person who actually perpetuates the crime against humanity. And that is the person who does the enslaving. So no one is just a slave. I'm just a slave and this is what I do, like a cook or a teacher or, you know, anything else, a blacksmith. A person is enslaved. They are trapped. They are trapped. Their body is used as property and they are trafficked. You know, these are people who are trafficked. So that is important to understand. It's so easy to gloss over when we just say slave. And the people who are doing the enslaving are enslavers. They are people who traffic. They are people who participate in the trafficking of human beings. And that was important too. And I think that was really wonderful how he used, how Mr. Coates used the terms tasked, those who are tasked, those who are quality, the enslavers. And then there are the lows, who are the poor whites, who have their own issues and their own, where are my words? Their own grievances against the richer whites, and then they take it out, take those things and the sentiments out on those who have less power, which are the blacks, both free and enslaved. And I thought that was fantastic with how he created that. And then of course there are relationships, human relationships. It's very complicated because Hiram is not only a person who was enslaved on the plantation, but his enslaver is also his father. And that obviously makes things very complicated because in one way he feels as if the plantation and all of his land is his rightful inheritance because he is so much better than his brother, who's a complete idiot, and he's tasked with guarding his brother. But his brother is lesser than he is in so many ways. Yet he will never inherit the plantation or any of its land or anything because he is black and he is enslaved. Which also then we were talking about how that can parallel to, say, America, and how those who are enslaved and who are black can look at America and all its bounty and feel as if, you know, we are the inheritors of that. And on one end, it's been argued that no, we cannot fall into the trappings of those who have enslaved our people historically, right? And then, you know, it's like a domino effect, of course, in later generations, but those are not our trappings. But then there's also the other side of it, which is that, well, the reason why any of this is here is because America is built on slavery. America and slavery are inextricably linked. You cannot separate the two and understand the other. So slavery is not something that happened in America or happened to America or happened in the history of America. Slavery is something that allowed America to exist. And that's a big difference, very big distinction. And so we were talking a lot about that too. Highly recommend this read. If you guys haven't read this, definitely check it out. Ta-Nehisi Coates is The Water Dancer. This is his debut novel. I really, really loved his nonfiction work. Between the World and Me, as well as We Were 8 Years in Power. In my opinion, recommended reading, absolutely. And this story is beautiful and also full of hope because it really allows us to understand the psychology of America, because we understand how it was able to be created and where it's been, and then therefore we can see where it's going. I always say that, I feel like, when it comes to his work, but it's so true because it's not just an interesting story, but it is a dissection of America, which is fantastic. So definitely check this out. And for those of you who joined, thank you for joining. And for those of you who weren't able to join, hope to see you next time, but definitely pick up Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer when you get the chance.